62% of professionals in Europe are already using ChatGPT or similar AI tools. And over 85% of those users have mentioned that they're using these tools daily or at least a few times a week. AI is here to stay, and we all need to adopt AI. These numbers have doubled since the previous year. These are going to increase in 2025, which is just around the corner. If you're not using ChatGPT or a similar AI tool, you're missing out. So in this little video, I'm going to do a very quick overview of how you can get started with ChatGPT today. And if you're already a user of ChatGPT, there's going to be some interesting tips and tricks and things that you should not forget. In most workshops that I run for professionals, for entrepreneurs and founders of incredible businesses, each time I run these workshops, they realize that they have forgotten some of the basics or they haven't done some of the basics that I show them. So by watching this video, you will make sure that you have all the basics covered and you have the best tips to get the best from ChatGPT. Now you can see ChatGPT. If you're familiar with ChatGPT, in the last few weeks, we've had a really interesting change. ChatGPT looks much more familiar to us these days. Why? They've updated to make it look like one of our top search engines that we've had for many, many years. As you can see, now everything is in the middle. So it's much more familiar for us to start using it. But let's talk about a few things that is very important. That a lot of the people, when I run workshops, realize that they have forgotten. The first thing is your custom instruction. If you go on the top right and click on your face, you can click on Customize ChatGPT. In here, you will get two boxes inside the custom instructions, which is the first one. What would you like ChatGPT to know about you to provide better responses? And the second box is how would you like ChatGPT to respond? So in the first one, if you click on it, you'll see some thought starters. Where are you based? What do you do for work? What are your hobbies and interests? What subjects can you talk about for hours? What are some goals you have? I've filled this up with where I've previously lived. I've said about my newsletter. I've said about what I love, my hobbies, my side thing, my goals and so on. And on the bottom one, you have also, again, thought starters, which is how formal or casual should ChatGPT be? How long or short should the responses generally be? How do you want it to be addressed? Should ChatGPT have opinions on topics or remain neutral? As you answer these questions, try your best to use the most you can. As you can see, you have about 1,500 characters. I've most of the time used over 1,000. I still have a bit of room. This is great because this is another layer of information. I like to put things like in this way. GPT-4o, which is a large language model behind ChatGPT, is the first layer of knowledge, of information. The second layer of information is your custom instructions. So please do go fill up your custom instructions to get better responses and to have a much more custom feel from your ChatGPT so that you're starting to make ChatGPT your assistant. Now that you've got a couple of layers of knowledge and intelligence in there, which is the GPT-4o and your custom instructions, let's talk about the memory feature. A lot of people get shocked when they do things like, tell me one thing I don't know about myself that you might know. Things like that. You've potentially seen this around the social media and everything. Oh my God, ChatGPT knows a lot of things about me. That is the memory feature. The memory feature is a great little feature. It used to be at 2,000 tokens of context window of remembering, of taking information. Now is at 8,000. You can access that by clicking again on your face on the top right, going to settings, and now going to personalization. You'll see that you have the memory feature. My memory is on and I can manage my memory. Now I can see all the things that ChatGPT remembers about me. Some of the things might be things that I don't want it to remember about me anymore. So you can just delete them, you can forget them, or you can clear the whole memory. Be careful clearing out the whole memory because there's potentially a lot of information you want it to remember about you. This is a great feature because it will know my role. It will know when I'm doing some projects, some tasks. It will start remembering some great information so that I don't have to keep telling it about my ideal customer profile. I don't have to keep telling it how I want things to be done in a project. and so on. So again, what happens is that we had the GPT-4o layer as information, we had the custom instructions as another layer, and now we have our memory. So the memory is a great little feature to also visit weekly or monthly to make sure that you're cleaning out things that you don't want it to remember. What could that be, you might wonder? Things like maybe a month ago my pricing was different than this month, and I'm doing a proposal and suddenly it comes up with a pricing and I'm like, oh, that's my previous pricing. So if you see that, there's potentially information in the memory that remembers, so you can delete that information. If you wanted to remember something and it's not remembering it because it just picks up information whenever it wants from the chat, you can always tell it to remember this and then say that, or remember this about me, or remember this about what I do. If you write remember this or remember, it will make sure to add that information in its memory. But you might also ask me, hey, sometimes I do things for different clients, or I act as my wife or somebody else for another project or a task or something, and I don't want it to use the memory and I don't want it to remember anything. Well, it's very simple. You can go on the model selector, and here you have what we call the temporary chat. If you select temporary chat, what you see, it goes into the temporary mode. Here is not going to appear in your history, is not going to use or create from the memory, or is not going to be used any model training, and this will be kept only for 30 days just for your own safety. And as you can see, it also adds this type of thing where you can clear the chat. But I like to have my memory most of the time, right? Because I do tasks for myself. And let's say that you were not in temporary mode and that you did something you forgot and it started to remember things about you. You can, of course, as I showed previously, go on your memory feature and delete that information that it remembers that you don't want it to remember. So that was the basics of information that you can have, the GPT-4o model, the custom instructions, and the memory. Now that we have the setup and some of the basic features covered, let's talk about the models and the model selector. On the top left, what you will see is ChatGPT-4o. If you click on that, it's a drop down where you can select different models. So here I have GPT-4o, which it says is great for most tasks. When do I decide on switching models? I use GPT-4o for almost 90% plus of my tasks, meaning an email, a document, creating a LinkedIn post, creating an Instagram caption, analyzing some data, creating images, summarizing some text, or anything that most of the time is a single task or is a question and answer, and then maybe you could keep chatting to it. Of course, GPT-4o is great at it. Let's say that you wanted to get into things like a strategy, or you wanted to plan something out, or you wanted to make a decision and you wanted some help. This is where the new models of 𝐂1 Preview and 𝐂1 Mini comes in hand. I'll talk about all of this in a separate video, but let me cover very quickly when I would switch to 𝐂1 Preview. As I mentioned, is if I was doing a Q4 strategy for my marketing, I would go on 𝐂1 Preview. Well, when would I go to 𝐂1 Mini? If I was doing some calculations or something in code, I would go to 𝐂1 Mini. If I want to do some kind of reasoning and I want to go step by step on my strategy, I'd go with 𝐂1 Preview. You do have some more models. You have the legacy model of GPT-4. You have the GPT-4o Mini, which is the GPT-4o model, but a much smaller version. And it's quite fast. It's great for everyday tasks. But if you do have limits in your account, which you haven't hit your limits, I recommend using GPT-4o. And again, if you're thinking of something that is much bigger than just you going and asking a question and getting an answer and going through it, and you want something where it kind of thinks things through, then I would go with an 𝐂1 Preview or an 𝐂1 Mini. I'm not going to show you really the differences of these on here, but I urge you to test them and do the same task with the GPT-4o and do it with 𝐂1 Preview and look at the difference. But another new model that we have in beta, actually it's not a model because it's the GPT-4o with a new feature, which is called the Canvas feature. If you select this model, you have a new possibility of chatting to it on the left and having the document on the right. Again, I urge you to test it, but I'll show you what does that mean. Here I've written, create a document for a marketing strategy. The difference that we have from the GPT-4o is that we're getting a document created. And as that document gets created, as you can see on the side, we suddenly have a document to work with. And on the left side, we still have our chat, which we were used to. This is great. If your output is going to be a document, I do suggest that you go with ChatGPT 4o with Canvas. This is also great for code. But again, I will cover all that in a separate video. So just to recap, GPT-4o for all your tasks, for 90+% of your tasks, is great. If you want to go into things like strategy planning, go into O1 Preview. If you want to go into code or maths and calculations and things like that, go to O1 Mini. And if you want to start working on a document with ChatGPT as your assistant, go with GPT-4o with Canvas. To finalize this video about the basics of ChatGPT and how you can start using it today in your business, in your professional career, I want to show you just the threads on the left, as I've been just showing you a clean version of it. On the left, you of course have all your chats, which I hope you're aware of these. You can share, you can rename, you can archive, or you can delete one. I suggest to start a new one whenever you're doing some new task or new project. A lot of people during my workshops still keep using the same thread because they don't want to keep putting the same information, which if you do use your custom instructions in your memory, you won't have that problem. Each time you start a new chat thread, you'll have your custom instructions and the memory in the backend. So you won't have to repeat those things. So now you can start a new chat thread for new tasks, new projects. I recommend to stay in the same chat or thread like you're staying in the same task or in the same project. Let's say that here, I wanted to continue on my business blueprint, I'd go into that. If I wanted to continue on my AI training and consulting services preparation, I would go on there. And I name them. I know that it creates names on its own, but I most of the time rename them so I can find things. And I've been using this for 2+ years, and you'll see that I don't have that many conversations that I keep. A lot of them will be in the archives, or I will delete a lot of them. It's nice to clean that and not keep one chat thread for everything that you do. And this is why I've shown you that the different layers of knowledge, of information, is the key. The large language model itself, the model, which is ChatGPT 4o. Then we have custom instructions. Then we have the memory. And then we have our prompt. I hope you've enjoyed this video about how to start with ChatGPT and having the tips and the tricks to really set a good foundation of your ChatGPT usage. Because trust me when I say this, I've trained so many founders, entrepreneurs, and professionals in businesses. And each time I go through the basics of the custom instructions and the memory and the different models and the temporary chat and these kind of basic stuff and when to start a new chat thread, they're like, wow, I didn't know about that. So I want to make sure that you're all aware of that so that you have your custom instructions, you have your memory, and you can clean that up and you can use it for your benefits. If you've enjoyed this, please subscribe to my channel because we're going to get much deeper into ChatGPT, different AI tools, and how to transform your mindset into an AI-first mindset and how to transform your business into an AI-first business. Thanks for watching.